If we don't mind for a second, we talked about what Desert Bus is.
Yeah.
Eric, if you wouldn't mind, do you want to take a second and talk about Child's Play?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you
why are like
Why are we trying to
over
figure it
above
out?
James? Can't help but notice we have $250,000 US.
Yeah,
Which is
hey,
amazing.
that just happened.
And what
Whoa.
is that helping out with, right?
So we, so Child's Play, I work for Child's Play. I'm Eric, program director with Child's Play. We, I mean, as many of you probably know, the core stuff that we do is provide games and toys to children's hospitals around the world. And domestic violence shelters, youth camps, anyone who works with kids and wants to use games in a therapeutic way are groups that we're happy to help with. But the core program is the hospitals. That's what we're most known for. But in the last few years, we've started actually visiting hospitals. In the previous times, we would sort of stay remote. We didn't really want to get in their way in their business. Didn't want to get in their business, didn't want to tell them what to do with, because we're not clinicians. And so we just sort of gave them goods and money and let them be. But in the last few years, we started actually visiting them and talking with them and learning that most of them are not gamers, most of the hospital staff. Average hospital staff is definitely not a gamer. There are very few gamers that I've met in hospital visits, and I probably visited 60 or 70 hospitals in the last 4 years. And as an organization, we visited about 115 in the last 4 years. So it's a lot of hospital staff that we've chatted with and seen. But yeah, so one of the things we figured out is that for the most part, they can't use any more equipment. Like we had in this vision of every hospital room should have an Xbox or a PlayStation, should have like a little handheld, like a DS or something, should have an iPad would be great. And if every hospital room in the world had that, that would be wonderful. But the reality is, if a hospital has a couple Xboxes on carts and maybe a DS or two, if we send them more, they just can't use it. They give it away. They don't have the time or knowledge to be able to support more equipment. Because remember, there are no consoles existing right now that have a enterprise management system, which means that if you have 150 Xboxes or 200 or 700 Xboxes, you have to manage them all individually. You have spreadsheets of accounts. You have to actually go to that Xbox and figure it out. Which, if you have one Xbox at your home is doable. If you're not really a gamer and you have 300 to work with, is a huge time sink.
OS updates are the like system updates on PlayStation, Xbox are bad enough.
I don't know if any of you have been in a hospital, but there are very few hospitals that have reliable, good, fast Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
So yes, any sort of update thing is not good. So anyway, so in order to help with that, we continue to provide equipment. We do that we'll sort of always do that. But we started doing grants to hospitals to hire a gaming technology specialist that will work in the hospital, work with the child life department, the play therapy department, the folks that manage all the sort of games and equipment and manage the playrooms and stuff, and can be responsible for that. And then can also investigate things like VR or AR or telepresence robots or other sort of new technology things that might come that could be really useful in a hospital. 3D printing. There's a fabulous thing called spectrums, which are these two little rings. I should have brought them. I totally should have brought them. They're these two little rings that you put on your fingers, and then you tie it to an app. It's Android, iOS, downloadable app. And every time you tap on something, the rings activate a little camera, and they sense the color of whatever you tap, and then they make a sound according to that color. So the app has like piano, like you can set up piano, and then like they have a little pad that comes with it that you can tap that just has like colors like a piano. Like if your piano was different, had 10 different colors or whatever. But you could like tap it on your shirt, you could tap it on a wall, you could tap it on whatever. Anyway, so there's lots of different cool new things that hospitals don't necessarily know about. So keep an eye out for that. We have 14 of those grants out right now, and there's a couple hospitals that have. There's the one that sort of. Had this person before we started this that sort of inspired us with the idea, and there's a couple others that have this person that we haven't granted with. So altogether, there's probably there's 16 of these people in the world right now that exist. But we're hoping to make a lot more of them because there are 250 some children's hospitals just in the U.S. There's another 22, I think, in Canada. and then a bunch all over the rest of the world. So we want lots of these people, and it's ultimately it's looking like every hospital probably needs a team of these, like one that sort of maintains equipment, one that rolls around a cart full of games and plays games with kids, one that sort of organizes events. So yeah. So anyway, that's in a nutshell what we do.
That's
I don't know.
really
I haven't been
cool.
paying attention. Are there any other questions? Do you guys have any other?
No, that's it.
Okay.
That's
Like,
awesome.
why-
I didn't realize the part about like, I mean, it totally makes sense that just sending more equipment to people who don't have the experience, who already have like a full-time job
Yeah.
saving lives, it's not necessarily at some point good in actually getting to the people we want.
Yeah,
so
that's
asking what helps.
so yeah, so like we used to just send tons of equipment, and then especially the first year or two, we would visit these hospitals, and it would be a hospital that was not part of our network. We know that we sent them, 10 Xboxes and 10 iPads the previous year, and we, like, hey, what do you have, our playrooms and stuff? And they're like, oh, we have 3 Xboxes, and we have a couple iPads that we use for our staff, and internally we're like, and we had these conversations, we're like, where's the rest of the stuff?
you do?
Like,
Yeah.
like, what had happened to it? And they're like, they just can't use it, so they give it away to kids. They use it as Christmas presents, whatever. It's gone to good homes, but it wasn't the intended purpose of those gifts. Anyway, so yeah, that's our fix right now, or what we're trying to work on is how to. And the hospital staff are very receptive to this. I mean, they have recognized for a long time that games are super helpful for kids. In both a distraction way, but also a therapeutic way. There's games that help you. I don't know if we didn't talk about this yesterday the show, but there's games that actually, would one of you grab one of the guys
One of the
that's
pamphlets?
on the pamphlets on the thing on the
Sure.
table?
And we've got-
They're right on the table and
Yeah, there's a table in the food
We've
area.
got Dr. Joe calling in.
Oh yeah.
As well, so
He's
we're excited
Tuesday.
about.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
Dr. Joe is great. He is, as far as I'm aware, the world's first medical director for child life through a grant of ours, through part of the funding of you guys. So anyway, so thank you. So we made a little booklet, and this booklet talks about. It's available on our website, PDF. It's free. Please share it with whoever. If you have some organization that could use physical copies, email us. Our email's on the website. We're happy to send them out. But it just talks about how specific games for different systems that can be specifically useful for pain or anxiety. The difference between a game that is good for boredom for short term versus long term. In a waiting room, as many of you will be aware, because most of you are gamers probably, you don't want to put Zelda or Mass Effect in a waiting room. That is not the right game for that environment. You want to put Rocket League or Peggle or Tetris or something like that. Yeah. Oh yeah. It's actually I don't know if you want to throw the link in the chat. It's on our website as well. But yeah. So we made that guide, and the staff are very. They have seen these things. They know these things, but having a book that's like, here is documentation, and we didn't make it up, I guess, but it's not researched. It is sort of data driven. Anyway, we can talk more about that later, but or personally, but it is just having a physical thing is very helpful for them. It sort of gives them the confidence to sort of stand up for these sort of anecdotal things that they had been seeing anyway, that the games can be useful. They'd be like, yes, see, here's evidence that it is useful. But yeah, that's.
I don't want to turn this into 20 questions.
Sure, go for
But
it.
something that definitely comes up a lot, I'll be talking to somebody, be like, hey, I'm doing this fundraiser for Child's Play that gets toys and games to kids in hospital.
Mm-hmm.
Like, hey, I got an Xbox. You want my Xbox? And what do you say to people when they want to donate old equipment and old games?
In general, we say either reach out to your local hospital. Some hospitals will take some of that stuff. In general, hospitals don't have a good use for used equipment.
Sure.
As we talked about, they have kind of as much as they want. And anything that is used, the lifespan of that equipment is shorter now because it's been used. And game equipment in hospitals gets used hard. So if it's not new, it's going to die even faster, and then it has to be replaced and whatever. So in general, they don't want that, but you're certainly welcome to reach out. Some of them might, especially if it's like a Nintendo DS, things like that. They certainly find useful. Mostly, we tell people you can take it to a local game store or somewhere where you can turn it in, and then use that money to donate or buy something new to take to the hospital. eBay has an eBay for charity thing, where you can choose your favorite charity. We're on there, but you could choose other charities as well. And then you can eBay a thing, and you can choose a slider of how much of the sale price will go to that charity. The percentage that you choose reduces your fees by that amount. So if you do 100%, you pay no fees, and it will just all automatically go to the charity. So whoever the buyer is knows that they're not sort of trusting you to pass it on. It's just automatically going to go to the charity. So that's another
really
good
cool. I
option
had no
as well.
idea about that.
Yeah. So at least in the U.S., I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know about other countries if their eBays have that kind of thing, but it's been going for a while. So I would imagine several countries have that now for wherever eBay is.
Cool.
Yeah, and then if it is something that is unique and special and some sort of limited edition or concept art or that kind of stuff, we have ways to distribute that as well. I mean, you guys are a fabulous way to distribute that kind of stuff. We have a dinner auction as well, coming up December 12th for anyone that's local to the Seattle area.
I can.
That we can sort of make use of that kind of stuff. And definitely if it's something new, if you, and new not necessarily it could be unboxed, just hasn't been used much.
Sure.
We could potentially make use of it in the hospital, but usually we will point you to the little hospital itself, because like say you're in New York, there's no sense in shipping it to Seattle
Yeah.
and then us shipping it back out to some hospital wherever in Kansas or something. You should just go talk to your local hospital and see if they would take it. So
Totally.
Cool.
Thank you, friend.
yeah, of course.
Yeah.
My pleasure.
So that.